Jamaicans in Jamaica support Trump only because of his stance on the LGBT community. It's an example of how people can support foreign leaders based on values rather than on policies that actually impact them directly. Let's look at how some of Donald Trump's policies might impact Jamaica and the Caribbean based on his previous time in office and expected approaches in his second term. Let's look at Trump's immigration policies. Trump's firm stance on immigration previously led to restrictions that affected the Caribbean region. The administration tightened visa policies, making it harder for immigrants to move to the U.S. for work, study, or family reunification. If similar policies are continued, Jamaicans and other Caribbean nationals may face more challenges in obtaining visas for the U.S. or even extending their stays. Temporary or seasonal work programs, often used by Caribbean nationals in U.S. agricultural or hospitality sectors, could also see more restrictions or delays. Therefore, stricter immigration policies may limit opportunities for Caribbean nationals, especially those seeking to work, study, or reunite with family in the U.S. Let's look at Trump economic and trade policies. Trump's economic policies have focused on America first, aiming to reduce dependency on foreign imports and encourage U.S. companies to manufacture domestically. In his first term, this led to some reduction in trade partnerships and foreign aid allocations. For Jamaica and the Caribbean, this could mean fewer investments and trade agreements from the U.S., especially if he places high tariffs on imported goods. Jamaica exports items like coffee, rum, and agricultural products to the U.S., so increased tariffs or decreased trade could impact this sector. Therefore, there might be reduced trade and investment flows between the U.S. and Caribbean economies, which could affect local industries that rely on U.S. markets. Let's look at tourism. The Caribbean is heavily dependent on tourism, and the U.S. is a significant source of visitors. Trump's previous policies didn't directly limit travel to the Caribbean, but changes in U.S. economic policies, especially affecting the middle class, could influence Americans' ability to travel. If tax policies reduce disposable income or if stricter immigration and travel rules come into play, this might impact the number of U.S. tourists, which could reduce income for Caribbean economies. Therefore, economic policies that lower U.S. citizens' disposable income or make travel more cumbersome might indirectly affect the Caribbean tourism. Let's look at financial regulations and remittances. Remittances from Caribbean nationals working in the U.S. are a significant income source for families across the region. While Trump didn't heavily regulate remittances in his first term, future financial regulations might place more scrutiny on money transfers abroad. If regulations become stricter, they could increase fees or make it harder to send money back to the Caribbean. Therefore, potential changes to financial regulations could make remittances to the Caribbean more expensive or complicated, affecting families who depend on this income. Let's look at climate policy. Trump's first term saw a withdrawal from the Paris Climate Agreement, which affected global climate policy initiatives. Caribbean nations vulnerable to hurricanes and climate change impacts could be affected if the U.S. does not participate actively in climate funding and disaster relief programs. Trump's administration previously scaled back on foreign aid, which could continue in his second term, possibly affecting disaster relief assistance to the region. Therefore, reduced climate policy engagement or aid could affect the Caribbean's ability to receive support for climate-related challenges. While Trump's policies may not directly target Jamaica or the Caribbean, they could indirectly impact the region, especially in terms of immigration, trade, and economic aid. As his administration potentially pursues stricter immigration and America First trade policies, the Caribbean might see reduced opportunities for migration, trade, and investment, as well as possible challenges in climate support.